All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Crabcakes and Baseball. I am Jerry Shank. With me, as always, Jamie Naill. Jamie, how are we doing?
A little under the weather, Jerry, but it's another day in paradise, so we're all good on this side.
Yeah, sounds like I gave you my sickness from last year. You got to watch out when you're podcasting and doing Zoom calls and Zencasters. It is very contagious, apparently.
Yeah.
Um, Jamie, our Maryland scouting director for PBR, another busy week in our first full week of Maryland high school baseball, public and private, both well underway. Um, a lot of exciting action, a lot of games going on, especially early in the year. You always worry about the weather getting in your way, but we were able to get a lot of games in this week. And let's get right into it, into this episode for Crab Cakes and Baseball. We're going to start out with our team of the week. Team of the week this week is our number 5 ranked Savannah Park Falcons, excuse me. They went 3-0 on the week, outscoring their opponents 40-6 in an offensive outburst to make a statement in week 1. They had wins over South River, Annapolis, and and Mount St. Joe's of the MIAA, all in commanding fashion. After this impressive week, they do move up one spot into our top 5 at number 5 into the power rankings. Jamie, you got anything you want to add to the week that Savannah Park had?
Yeah, I mean, Severna Park, they've shown early on this year how balanced they are on both sides of the ball. Um, you know, Angel Santiago Cruz, he's showcasing the ability to do it on both sides as one of the top uncommitted players in the state. The balance and the depth on both sides is impressive. They have the experience top to bottom in the lineup, top to bottom through the rotation. So, the Falcons of Severna Park, they're extremely fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to getting out to see them probably 3 or 4 times with the amount of talent, both committed and uncommitted players on that team.
All right, thank you, Jamie, for that. Honorable mentions for the Power 25. We've got Stephen Decatur, Snow Hill, and St. Michael's all in the Bayside Conference. All had a nice 3-0 starts to their season. We'll go on a little bit further into that later on in this episode. Now let's look back at our games from the week. Really, the big game that I wanted to talk about, Jamie, was the first game of the season, big opener. You've got a top 10 matchup in the MPS SAA in 4A. It was Sherwood and Urbana. They've had fireworks before in the past, and this week, Sherwood really makes a statement in their opening game. A commanding 13-2 victory. The game ended early because of the run rule. It was really impressive. I know you were there. Jamie, I want to ask you, just kind of give us your thoughts on the game, and then let's go ahead and make a bullseye early. But how do we like Sherwood's chances of a repeat in 23?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely there. Sherwood showcased the balance. They showcased the prowess on both sides of the ball. They can capitalize on mistakes. They went down 1-0 early in that game, and then put up an 8 spot in the bottom of the first. So um, the ability to capitalize on Urbana's mistakes. Urbana's going to be there towards the end as well. So this loss shouldn't hurt them too much, but it was a statement win for Sherwood. I mean, 13-2 against Urbana is very impressive. And then Amari Allen, obviously our player of the year from last year, hitting the walk-off home run to right center field that almost put a hole in my windshield of my truck. So that was impressive. It was a great way to see Amari on both sides of the ball that game, and see the prowess and see the depth from Sherwood on both sides. So can they repeat again in 23? Absolutely. And they're my pick to win it as well.
All right. Excuse me. Um, Now let's go back to our strong starts from the season. We were talking about Decatur, St. Michael's, and Snow Hill. All really nice starts. All really nice starts at 3-0 to begin their season. Um, we knew Decatur, we knew Snow Hill was going to be pretty strong this year. St. Michael's is always strong. They do a great job there. Coach Femi has really done a great job year in and year out of making a perennial power. Um, I do want to circle back though to Decatur. We've had them pretty highly ranked. We had them in the top 5 at number 3 this year. They had some really tough opponents, played a strong Delaware program in Delmar, and had a big victory there. Can this be the year for Decatur?
Yeah, it absolutely can. And in years past, we've worried about the depth from Decatur on the offensive side. They've always had the pitching. They've always had two, three, four, five, even six or seven arms that could go out and be an ace of any high school program across the state. But you can see kind of the offensive onslaught kind of take control this year as well. You have McLaughlin that actually threw a no hitter against James M. Bennett last week. So obviously, the arm is special with McLaughlin, but he's swinging it as well. You have Gus Kroll swinging it as well. AJ Cobb. So they have depth, 1 through 9 in that lineup that we haven't really seen in years past. And obviously, the pitching is still there. And that win against Delmar facing West Virginia commit Andrew Callaway and Bryce Hendricks that was up to 93, I believe, last week. So beating a Delmar team like that was a statement win for Decatur, and we think that they can get over that hump in 2023. And we'll have to just sit back and see.
Yeah, but obviously, definitely a really strong start. Really impressive, and it's good to see that offense off and running. All right, now let's move to our MIAA minute. Want to talk about two statement wins from last week in the conference. Um, the first one that I want to talk about is Archbishop Spalding. They traveled to Calvert Hall. You were there. It was a real strong victory over the Cardinals for Spalding. Spalding defeated them. I believe it was 4-0 was the final.
Mhm.
Jamie, what were your thoughts from that game?
Yeah, so obviously the weather wasn't great. Everything else got canceled across the state, and obviously Calvert Hall having a beautiful facility that they do with the turf field, they were able to get that game in, and it was two kind of powerhouses in the MIAA matching up and locking horns, and Spalding kind of flexed their muscles. They had Parker Thomas on the bump. He was absolutely lights out. 5 innings, no hits, 11 Ks. And then they had Jake Yeager, University of Maryland commit, 2024 class come in and get the save. And he was practically lights out as well. 2 innings, gave up a hit with 3 Ks. Um, so, with the two arms like Thomas and Yeager as kind of, anchoring that staff, it's extremely impressive. Both were on their game, and when both are on their game, they're pretty much unhittable. Jack McNally had a huge RBI double early on in the game, so that's a huge uncommitted player in that 2025 class to keep eyes on. Um, and Calvert Hall is obviously very, very tough, and we're about to talk about them in Saturday's game. But that was a big statement win for Spalding and kind of deflects their muscles across the MIAA, and it was impressive seeing those two arms as well.
Yeah, for sure. And, just as you were saying, let's stay with Calvert Hall. Um, on Saturday, big victory over previously number two ranked Georgetown Prep in our private school top 10. Um, another, like I said, it's a statement win. It was a big victory for Calvert Hall. Now, we had talked about we weren't quite sure what we were going to get this year from Calvert Hall. Always strong, but you never know really what you're going to get from them. But there was one player in particular who's really seems like he's starting to separate himself from the pack.
Yeah, George Mason commit 2023 Jake Butler. You want to talk about a guy that really opened my eyes just at the plate, defensively as well. He's a game changer. He can impact on both sides of the ball. He hit an absolute moonshot early on in the game to take the lead early that Calvert Hall kind of ran with. Jake Butler can really swing it. The awareness for the barrel, the strength to the pull side. He's got line drive tendencies, and he can take it to all fields. But the prowess that he has at the plate and the confidence and the moxie is something that really stood out to me. And that's a player that's kind of going to run rampant throughout the MIA this year. And he made a huge statement against a obviously perennial powerhouse in Georgetown Prep and against really good arms from Georgetown Prep. They threw Andrew Duncan, 2025 Duke commit. They threw Austin Weiss as well. They threw Ryan Maxey. So Georgetown Prep really went after that game. And Calvert Hall kind of making a statement win there. It was huge. It was big time.
Yeah, and that's great. And Coward Hall, they definitely have good depth on that roster. It's good to see a nice victory like this. Love to see it. And, just going back on Butler, I remember watching him last year, and you just love the skill set. You really like a lot. There's a ton to like about Butler. What I like the most is really just showing now he's starting to separate himself from the pack, and with a real big game, it looks like it could be a really good season for him. So, kudos to Calvert Hall for a big win. It was tough, but the MIA is always tough. Just such a loaded conference, but two big statement wins with Spalding defeating Calvert Hall, and then Calvert Hall taking a win over Georgetown Prep. So that's going to be your MIAA minute for this week. Now, to wrap things up, let's go look at some uncommitted talent. We got to see a lot of players this week, Jamie. Should say you got to see a lot of players this week, and we got some uncommitted talent that is very, very interesting. And the first person that I want to go out to Western Maryland. You got to see a game between St. Maria Goretti and Brunswick, and we have a Future Games alumni, uncommitted 2024, Andrew Kearns. Pretty imposing arm. He might be new to a lot of people in this area. He recently moved into Maryland. Jamie, it looks like he was very impressive on the bump.
Yeah, you want to kind of talk about dominance. Andrew Kearns from Goretti was just about as dominant as you can be. Um, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned, 11 Ks. He was up to 92 with the fastball. I know in the past we've seen him, 89, 90. He ramped up to 92 in, I believe, what it was the fourth inning. So the velo held throughout the game. He's a kind of an ultra competitor. Yeah, he was around the zone the entire night. In the past, we kind of worried about the command issues or the feel for the zone, but it was on all game long. It was very, very impressive. I talked to Andrew after the game, and he was super stoked about it. So that was a very impressive 2024 that really separated himself in that uncommitted class of 2024 arms.
All right, now let's stay with the pitcher position. Another uncommitted now 2025 class, and a player that maybe not a lot of people know who might have had a little breakout this week. And Jamie, that's 2025 Peter Bayshore.
Yeah, right-handed pitcher out of Calvert Hall. He came out of the pen in that game against Spalding and really kind of slammed the door and kept Calvert Hall in the game. It was super impressive. It was my first time getting a chance to see him. He worked 2+ innings out of the pen. He had 3 Ks. The fastball was up to 87. It was hard run, hard sink to the arm side. Very, very impressive slider. He commanded it well. He had feel for it all night long. It was tight. It was sharp, 10-4 shape. He threw it for strikes. So that's an uncommitted 2025 that not a lot of people know, but definitely a guy that college coaches should circle throughout the rest of the 2023 spring season.
Yeah, make sure you're writing that name down. And then the last one that I want to go to, we're going to the position side now, back to Western Maryland. We talked about in previous episodes a really impressive and intriguing Middletown High School roster, and you got to watch them last week, and they did not disappoint. Um, but let's single out one player who really stuck out to you, and that's uncommitted 2024 Joey Nicholson.
Yeah, he's a physical freak, man. He's 6 foot, 210 pounds. He can really move. He runs like a gazelle. He has arm strength that is second to none. I was sitting there watching during pregame, watching their IO, and the throws that he was making to right field into home plate, just on the line, frozen rope, showed carry to the plate. So it's super impressive what he can do defensively, but as well as offensively as well. Like the barrel awareness, the ability to use all fields. He had 2 backside knocks in the game. He went double down the right field line, and then an RBI single to right field as well. So the plate presence and the ability to really handle the barrel is impressive, and he's as close to a 5 tool athlete as it gets with the power that he has, the speed that he has, and the arm strength. It's a lot of fun to watch, and that's an uncommitted 2024 that shouldn't be uncommitted for very much longer.
Yeah, the tools just scream off the board there. And, I think I wouldn't call it a hindrance, but sometimes the outfield position can get overlooked a little bit in the recruiting world, especially sometimes a right. outfielder. But the tools right here are just so impressive. So definitely another name to watch and to mark down to get out there, get out to Western Maryland and watch Middletown High School. They've got a few quality uncommitted players on that roster right now. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Everyone, thank you so much for being there. Jamie, thank you for being me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for fighting through. It was an epic performance, Kirk Gibson like. So make sure you pump the fist as you run around the bases on that Yahtzee. But everyone, thank you so much for being with us. We will see you next week. It's Crab Cakes and Baseball. That's what PBR Maryland does.